Hey guys, we're back again with the Mazda RX-7 build. It's moving along now. We're getting close to the end. So, doing a little bit of work on it, and I just figured I'd bring you guys along for the ride, show you a little bit of extra detailing I'm doing. Alright, we have... As I hit the camera. We have the windshield installed, one of the wipers in. Now, one of the interesting aspects of this kit is that it brings wipers for both left and right hand drive, and it tells you which ones to use for left hand drive, not for right hand drive. So there's a little bit of mixing and matching till you get the ones that you like. I'm actually going to use one of the left hand drive wipers and one of the right hand drive wipers because the passenger side left hand drive wiper is a lot nicer of a piece. I mean, for the passenger side right hand drive, it's a lot nicer of a part than it is the left hand drive one. So I'm gonna kind of use a mix and match of those two, just because I think it'll look nicer. Now, when you're putting on the driver's side, you're gonna have to tweak it a little bit if you're building the right hand drive car to get it to lay across the windshield and not just stick up. You're gonna have to bend it just slightly, but not too much, or you may crack it like I did, so I had to glue it back together. Just gotta be a little careful with that. Now I'm up to the point where the next step is to attach the body to the car, to the chassis, but I figure I'm going to do the lights first to get that out of the way. Now what I'm doing with the lights is, it's got two driving lights. Now, according to all the reference material I've seen, I don't know if you can tell that there's a yellow bulb inside the driving lights, and those are your directionals. So every picture I've seen, you can see just a little bit of yellow right in the center of the driving light. So I did that to replicate that look on the real car. Now, as far as the reflective backing, again, I used, as usual, bare metal foil, just to give a nice reflective quality to the marker light. I'm also doing that in the rear with the rear markers. Just simple applying bare metal foil in there. Nothing new there. I've gone over some of my other videos how to apply bare metal foil, and there's a bunch of really good videos out there from some other YouTubers. So maybe I'll cover that again in a future video. Also have the driving lights installed, the fog lights installed in the front. We've already gone over the entire polishing of the body. It looks really, really good. I'm really happy with the way that turned out. So now what I'm going to do is install the passenger side, or in Japan, or driver's side in America, fog light. So you guys can see exactly how that goes together. Now I'm using this Bob Smith Industries Super Gold. This thing is great. Dries totally clear. Haven't had it fog up any of my clear parts so far, so I'm really happy with it. I also use the Testors clear part cement. This stuff works really great also. Dries very clear, and has a good bond, but this takes a very long time to cure. It's a very slow curing glue. This one cures almost instantly, like many other CA glues. Now, let's just get a little bit of it out here. Now what I like to do is, I take my little applicator toothpick, and I'm just going to put a drop of the glue in the corner here and in the corner here. And that's going to be more than enough to hold this lens without adding too much glue, causing it to either splooge out from behind the lens or take the risk of too much of it actually causing the fogging that we are trying to stay away from. So there we go. Just a drop of glue on each corner. And then we just take the lens, oops daisy, and just drop it right in. And there we go. It's that easy. And as you can see, just give it a nice little push so that it seats all the way back. And there we go. You can see there's a little black border. I've gone over the edges of the lens with a Sharpie just to give us the look of the gasket material that would be around the lens on the real car. And there we go. It looks kind of like almost like cat's eyes with those yellow dots. I'm not really sure if the yellow is showing up very well here. There we go. I think you can see what that looks like there. Let's see. Let me zoom in a little bit, see if it'll... There we go. And that replicates the bulb that's inside, along with the fog lamps, which from what I've seen are yellow. All right. Now we're going to move on to the rear markers. Now, surprisingly, these are the only parts in this kit that I've actually had flash on. I did clean them up a bit. Oh, and so let's put this to the side here for now. We are going to just, oops, wrong tool. Use our nippers, cut them free. Now we're going to have to clean up a little bit of it, as just a little bit of material there that we've got to clean up. Let's go there just a little bit more. There we go. That's good there. Not really sure if this is translating well on camera, but there we go. I'll just have to clean up some of the edges. Use one of our sanding sticks just to clean the edges off so that we can make sure it's going to fit without any issues. All right, that's one down. Now this is how I create the gaskets around it. Just take a little bit of, just take a Sharpie, run it along the edges of the lens, and that creates the look of the gasket that would be on the real thing. And as you see there, let's see. Now we have a gasket around, oops, around the lens. Just a little trick, works very well. Now that that's done, let's do a trial fit of this lens here. I'm gonna take the back of the car. Just gonna drop the lens in really quick just to make sure it fits properly. There it is, and you can see there how reflective the lens is, which is exactly what we're going for. All right, that's going good there. I may have to just add a little more of that. Our Sharpie gasket to one corner that I wasn't really happy with the way that was looking. There, that ought to fix that. This is why it's always good just to trial fit everything. You never know exactly how something's going to look until you actually get in there. And get the part in there. Okay. So that's good there. We're going to give that a second to dry. The Sharpies dry very quickly. And when it does, we'll be back with the installation. Alright. That time while I was waiting for one to dry, I just went ahead and did the gasket on the other one. So now we're going to do a little bit of a... We're going to glue these in. This is you just put just a drop of CA glue on one side, a drop on the other side, right there. And then we're going to take these and we'll just pop it right in there. And there we go. Our light assembly is in place. Okay, now we're going to work the other one in. Exact same process. This is just how easy it is. There we go. Just a little too much of the glue there. We just want to drop, as this stuff holds very, very well. You really don't need a lot to make it work. And then a drop there. There, you have to be careful. Make sure you don't drop it like I just did. And here we go. What I do is I go in and just lay it in and then slide it right into place. And there we go. Now we have all of our lights. Well, not all, but all of our marker lights are now installed. Just pat them down, make sure that they're nice in there, nice and neat, nice and tight. As you can see, how good that bare metal foil works as a reflector. Actually, it looks like there's a light in there. There we go. So that's our signal lights. Now we're moving on to the next part. Okay, now that we did all the small lights, we're ready for the next big step, which is to install the body onto the chassis. Now, you see, here I have my two seat belts, which are going to attach to the inner portion of the car, the B pillar here, which we're going to do going in through the back, as we don't have to put the hatch in until later on in the build. As for some reason they installed the hatch from the exterior here, which works out for our benefit because now we can do our seat belts. Now, the first thing you want to do, which is something that is easily overlooked, is make sure the inside of your windows are clean. Because once this goes on, you're not getting back in there. So make sure there's no fingerprints. The outside doesn't matter. Outside you can always clean. But the insides, just make sure there's no fingerprints there. Now what I like to do when I install the glass is that I go over it with the Tamiya compound, which I found is really good. at cleaning all the dirt off the glass, and gives you a nice crystal clear glass on the inside anyway. The outside is a whole nother story. Now, when mating the body to the chassis, these two little notches here, this is the part of the body that of the chassis that has to go into that little notch, this tab here. Now this can be a little bit tricky, as when you're maneuvering the body onto the chassis, this tab tends to slip out, and then it won't sit correctly if it's not sitting in that specific area. So let's do this right now. All right, here we go. Now what you gotta do, you gotta make sure you have the exhaust on the outside. And then, let me see if I can give you guys a good look at this here. You can see the tab. It is a little tricky. Trying to see if I can give you guys a good look at this here. Okay, there we go. Now you can see the tab as it goes into the notch. It's really easy to miss the notches. There we go. It's right in there now. It's very easy to miss that, and then you're going to be struggling with trying to get the car to line up. And even after you do it, you have to make sure that it doesn't fall out of those notches. Once it's in the notches, the body should just fall right into place the way Tamiya intended. As you can see there now, the tab is right inside those two notches there. So the rear won't move at all. It's locked into place. Now the only thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to put a little bit of CA glue in the front where the body meets the chassis, just to hold it down, as the front has a tendency to lift up a little bit. So you'll have a little bit of a gap there unless you actually apply a little bit of CA glue. So that's going to be our next step. To apply a little bit of CA glue, just lift. I can see exactly where the contact points are. And there on the corners. Make sure you find all the contact points so that you get a positive bond when you apply the CA glue. And I think just putting a couple of drops here on the corners should work perfectly. Now always be very careful that you don't get it on your paintwork, because that would really suck. I always apply it from the inside going out. There we go, from the inside going out. Let's going to apply a little bit more here. There we go. Now on those two corners should be enough to lock the car down. I'm just going to hold it here for a minute. Well, while we're holding, you can see here the great detailing job that Tamiya has. You can see the radiator, the additional coolers. Just a really nicely detailed kit. Now this glue does dry very quickly. Usually only takes about a minute or so to hold it together. I got nothing but good things to say about the Bob Smith Industries glue. It's the first time that I've actually ever used them, and I'm really, really happy with the results. With this particular one, dries perfectly clear, or at least it has so far. I haven't had any issues with it yet. And I think we are done. Now we are fully bonded. go. We are fully bonded to the chassis now. And as I said before, there is no need to glue the rear as it's locked into place, and the front, once you glue it down, will hold the car together. So there we go. We are on our way to almost being done here. Let's put our hood on. Make sure that everything fits right. Yes, it does. And a little bit of schmutz there on the hood. Let's see if we can get that. There we go. Everything fits right with the wipers on. Yes, it does. So we are on our way. Okay, next thing we're going to do, now that we have the body mounted, let's take the hood off so we don't drop it again. We're going to mount the remaining wiper. Just make sure that we have the body fully seated. Yes, it is. Very good. Now we're going to mount the remaining wiper. Now, when we mount the wiper, the reason I chose this one is because this wiper, as you can see, is curved. And that curve fits perfectly around the curve of the windshield. The other wiper does not. So now we're going to just do a little test fit of this wiper, and there it is, perfect there. So now what we're going to do, again, going to go with our toothpick applicator here. Let's just get a little bit of the excess off, and we're going to take just a drop of our CA glue and put it right in the receiving hole for the wiper. Now we're just going to very carefully place our wiper. Position it properly, because you can position it the wrong way, and then it just won't look right sitting on the glass. I may not have put enough CA glue there. I don't think it's really bonding. Yep, there we go. Just want to make sure that it sits in the right position. There we go. That's right where I want it. Okay, so now you can see the position of the wipers there. And these are for, as I said, the right-hand drive version of the car. And I think that this wiper just looks better than the wiper that they intended for you to use. So we're going to let that sit there and set up. Hopefully we put enough glue on there and it doesn't just fall off. It's one of those things where it's just sit and wait. Okay, now comes figuring out how we're going to do the seat belts, because we want them attached to the B pillar here. We want the seat belt to attach to the B pillar here, as it does in the real car. So basically we just have to get it to attach there, and you really won't be able to see much of it, other than you may be able to see the belt through the side glass going where it's intended to go. So that's going to be our next project here, which means that first we have to cut the seat belt to the proper length. going to be about there, and that's going to be a little tricky. Something maybe I should have measured out before I cut the glass, before I glued the body down. But that's okay. We can work with this. All right, give me just 1 second. I'll be back in a minute. All right, guys. I think I got it figured out how I'm going to handle these seat belts. First thing I have to do is cut the excess of the belt off. I need to get that measured out just right. The only thing I can figure to cut it with is this way with my X-Acto knife. I have to go right there. Slice right through it. Then, this is not going to be easy for me to show you guys, but I will have to take the seatbelt material, if I can find it. There it is. I'm going to take a little bit of super glue. Going to dab it onto the seatbelt material. And now we will just press the seatbelt up against the B-pillar. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. There we go. All right, guys. Now, let's see if I can show you guys exactly what we got accomplished here. Here you can see the seat belt. Let's see, you can see the seat belt there. Is now going past the seat over to the B-pillar. On the driver's side, and now on the passenger side. To give you a realistic mounting point, very similar to what we have in the real car. So that if you can see through the inside, you can see the belt material heading toward the B-pillar. I'll just show you right there. See that? That's the belt heading toward the B-pillar. And that gives us a realistic mounting for our seat belts as they pass through the belt loop that we made for these seats heading toward the B-pillar. And that is our realistic mounting of the seat belts into this vehicle. Alright, we're going to finish this video with the installation of the remaining lights, which is our tail light bar. Now, the tail light bar looks pretty good as is. I don't even think we're going to need to add reflective backing. As the reflective quality of the paint itself seems to be adding to the look of the lights as if they were actually on. So I think we're going to be good with just gluing this straight to the body. We just need to figure out where to apply the glue so that it doesn't come out onto the body. Because what we don't want is to apply too much glue and have it come out and spread onto our paintwork. This is the times when you can use, instead of using the CA glue, we're going to use the clear part cement, as this, if it does get on the body, can be rubbed right off. Now it does take longer to dry, and it's not as easy to use as CA glue, but it is much safer for the paint work. And considering the fact that this is not a recessed area that we're applying the lights to, but more along the lines of something that's right on the edge of the body where we could very easily make a mess. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply this to the edge of the light. And since the light does have an incredibly good fit, being a Tamiya product, it should sit there on its own, giving the glue plenty of time to work itself in there. And there we go. Now we have the tail lights installed. Now we just have to give that a good amount of time to dry. And we are getting there, guys. All right. We have all of our lights installed. The only thing left is to apply bare metal foil to the marker lights and then add a little paint to them. But we're going to do that after we let this glue set up for a while, because we don't want the tail lights falling off on us. So we're going to end it right here. Let that time set up, and then we'll be back on the next phase with the little bit of work we have left on this before we call this one done. Alright guys, if you like what I'm doing, as usual, give a like, give a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It helps out a lot. And when you give a thumbs up, it helps out a lot too. And let's keep the channel growing. Alright guys, I will see you on the next one.